and more Democratic governors are joining Republicans who have rolled back statewide mask mandates. Their actions going against recommendations from the White House and the CDC. Joining us now to discuss the factors driving these decisions, the governor of Colorado, Jared Polis. Governor, welcome. Great to have you back on Fox News Sunday.
Great to see you, Sandra.
So your state has not had a statewide mask mandate since last year. In December, you said, quote, the emergency is over, and have left the mandate decisions up to local officials. This week, we saw a number of Democratic governors follow your lead. However, the White House has a different take, as well as some other Democratic governors. Take a look at what the president said this week.
I committed that I would follow the science as put forward by the CDC and the federal people. And I think it's probably premature, but it's a tough call.
So, Governor, does the divide cause confusion for people in states like yours who are not under mandatory mask requirements?
Well, in Colorado, we haven't had a statewide mask requirement for close to a year. What the CDC puts out, Sandra, is guidance. They're recommendations on science. The CDC doesn't mandate anything. It's really been up to local governments and to in some states, governors to determine when or if people need to wear masks. And I think the most important thing is that should be an individual decision. People should be empowered with the information they need to protect themselves. And the truth is, if you're at risk, and I use my parents as an example, they're 77 and my mom has some respiratory conditions. Yes, they do wear medical grade masks when they're out around others, but that should be an individual decision based on the science and the data.
So, Governor, is the White House getting this issue wrong?
Well, I think the CDC is putting forward guidance. It's not mandating it for anybody, right? And the CDC isn't and shouldn't mandating mask wearing for anybody. It's a very heavy thing for any level of government to try to tell people what to wear, and it should only be used under extreme circumstances. So I think as long as CDC sticks to the guidance, no political interference from the Biden administration, just as hopefully there was no political interference from the Trump administration, get that message out, and hopefully it's one that individuals will look at and take into account in their everyday lives so they can live with the risk profile that they're comfortable with.
Well, you referenced the CDC, but the White House specifically, when asked, has said that they maintain their stance that children should still be wearing masks in the classroom.
Well, I think what the White House is doing and should be doing is saying, look at the CDC guidance. And again, in districts where mask wearing is not required, and that's nearly every district in Colorado, some parents want their kids to wear masks for that extra level of safety. Perhaps their kid is asthmatic, perhaps their kid has a pre-existing condition. And those are all reasonable decisions. There's no right or wrong here. Sandra, there's something more important than whether you wear a mask or not, and that's civility and respect. And if you're somebody who doesn't like wearing masks, respect those who do. If you're somebody who likes wearing masks, please respect those who don't.
Sounds like good old common sense, right, Governor? We'll see if that is in place when many of these changes take place. The transition could be difficult. All right, so Governor, brand new numbers released this week showing that the nationwide inflation spiked to a 40-year high last month, 7.5%. President Biden offered his take on what's causing these price hikes to consumers.
The reason for the inflation is the supply chains were cut off, meaning that the products, for example, automobiles, the lack of computer chips to be able to build those automobiles so they could function, they need those computer chips.
So your state is suffering from one of the highest inflation rates in the nation, sir. Is the president right on this issue, or is there more to these high prices consumers are paying?
You know, I mean, it's hard to say he doesn't get part of it right. Clearly, the supply chain issues, both with trucking and international trade, are part of the cause. There's other causes, too. But I think the response needs to be that we hear people and we're reducing fees and costs to save people money where we can. I was thrilled to see Senator Kelly and Senator Hassan at the national level put forward a bill to suspend the national gas tax. That saves people 18 cents a gallon. We're trying to do a similar thing here in Colorado to avoid a 2-cent a gallon fee on gas, as well as trying to cut fees on a lot of other services that people need.
You bring up the gas tax, and this is really interesting. So to bring some relief at the local level there in your state, sir, you've suggested delaying a new gas tax. This is just months after you signed it into law. Is that an admission that that was a bad idea in the first place?
Well, now's not the time to increase the gas tax. In fact, what we fought for in that bill was actually lowering the gas tax. What we got in that bill was lowering vehicle registration fees in Colorado by $11.50. We want to continue that reduction of $11.50 in vehicle registration fees. And of course, we've always been supportive of cutting the gas tax.
I want to move on to crime because there have been a lot of big stories at the national level in the news this week. The country continues to battle a spike in crime, but your state, Colorado, falls very low on the list of safest places in the nation, ranked 39th safest state in America. Let's take a look at some of the violent crime numbers. Since 2019 in Colorado, murders are up 48%, assaults are up 34%, robberies are up 15%. You've said that your goal for Colorado is to become a top 10 safest state in America, and you've introduced the Public Safety Plan of Action to hopefully reach that goal. However, the Colorado Fraternal Order of Police and County Sheriffs of Colorado, they're not embracing your plan. They're citing concerns of anti-law enforcement sentiment. How do you plan to bridge the gap between your plan and law enforcement to combat these rising crime rates in your state, sir?
First of all, many police chiefs and sheriffs are fully supportive of our plan because our plan fundamentally invests in helping recruit and retain law enforcement. We have sheriff's departments, police departments that are at 70–80% of capacity because they've had early retirements. They can't successfully recruit and train, and we need to support and help to make sure that we have the police on the ground that we need to protect our families in Colorado and make our state one of the safest. In addition to that, we need investments in behavioral health, in diversion, in making sure that we can prevent crimes before they occur by having youth intervention programs and programs within our prison walls to prevent recidivism when people have served their term and get released. So it's a comprehensive, thoughtful approach. Law enforcement is a big part of it, but there's a lot more to it. If crime was a simple issue, it would have been solved. So we're committed to listening to police chiefs, sheriffs, and experts from across the country to really have a data-driven plan to make Colorado one of the safest states.
Governor, thank you very much for joining us on Fox News Sunday. Always good to speak with you. Thank you.
Always good to see you. Thanks, Sandra.